You are listening to the Wow Cool Robot Podcast, your home for giant robots and giant robot media.
Big O! Action! It's a Gundam! Get Just who the hell do you think I am?
Autobots, transform and roll out!
How did you get to be such a good pilot?
And now, without further ado, let's begin. Hello, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Wow Cool Robot Podcast, home of giant robots and giant robot media. I'm your host, Adam, with my two cohorts, Noel.
Hello.
And Galen.
Sigzeon.
And we're here to basically cover everything mecha and giant robot related because, as the title implies, robots are pretty cool.
Wow.
We all have varying levels of familiarity with the mecha genre and giant robots as a whole. Be myself, it's always been something I've just been into, and now I want to take that and experience stuff I've seen and haven't seen again with friends, and then talk about it on the internet, and hopefully people will enjoy that.
We can only hope.
But then again, there's a podcast for everything, so. And there are also podcasts about giant robots. So
I mean,
hopefully...
If there can be 80 different cooking shows.
Yeah. If people can tell you 80 different ways to bake a piece of bread, we can tell you the 81st time about how we think about how Gundam Wing is really melodramatic and stupid, but also good.
It's so
Yeah,
endearing.
Yeah, just keep saying all the synonyms that pertain to melodrama.
Yeah. So, a couple of things, like just some general like house cleaning about like what the intent is. Like, you know, we've got like I've seen my fair share of giant robot stuff. So has Noel to a degree, although he considers himself a casual fan, right?
Or casual mecha enthusiast.
Yeah, casual. Yeah, the casual mecha enthusiast TM.
Then I'm the new guy and doing my best to catch up.
Yes. And we seem to be doing pretty well so far. We have a pretty substantial list of things to cover, and it does seem a little bit daunting, especially because a lot of those shows push into the double digits and beyond. Is there anything on the list that we'll like potentially cover in future that you're looking forward to?
I've been looking forward to watching Razafon and having an excuse to watch that, and or rewatch that. Heard good things about that.
Yes, I've also heard good things about Razafon.
And I'm looking forward to you guys watching Eureka 7. That one's really the show.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to watching Eureka 7, and I want to see. I want to watch Vision of Escaflowne too, because that was done by like Shoji Kawamori, the guy who did Macross, and that's like fantasy isekai mecha anime. Where
yeah, and then I think I found out that he also did mecha designs for Eureka 7 as well.
Yeah, I love Shoji Kawamori. He's a great designer. I wish they would let him design more airplanes for Ace Combat.
You and your Ace Combat.
I love Ace Combat, but that's a different that's a different podcast that doesn't exist.
That doesn't exist by us. I'm sure there's an Ace Combat podcast somewhere.
Yeah. So. General format that we're shooting for is, you know, we're going to talk about what we thought about the show, mecha designs, action sequences, because I think that's important. Like, if you're trying, my two things have always been, if you're trying to sell me on your giant robot show, there are two very important hurdles you need to cross out of the gate. Otherwise, I won't care about anything else. And depending on how good these first two things are, I might just overlook everything else, regardless of how bad it is. And that's like mech design and action sequences. If your robots look cool and they do cool stuff, then I can kind of forgive the story and characters being a little bit weak.
Yeah, but like if the story is really bad, then like it kind of drops like the quality of the whole show.
Yeah. Like if the story's bad, but you've got cool action sequences and like cool robot designs, then I'll give you a little bit of leeway, not a lot though.
But
for example,
dull,
like
I'd say, because like there can be stuff with no story that's just an excuse for giant robots, and like hey, we all loved the first Michael Bay Transformers. That was great. It was so dumb.
Yeah, and for example, like Guilty Crown, it has mechs in it, but all I remember from it is the OP.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people talk about Guilty Crown. I've not seen it personally.
Yeah, it's not that good.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about other things. Story, characters, mech design, action, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we recommended, and hopefully it can give you all, whoever happens to be listening, whether it's one person or 100, an idea of like if you want to get into the giant robots, or if you're into giant robots already, just stuff you want to hear us talk about, obviously let us know. Before I forget, I would like to shout out the artist who did our thumbnail and character profiles for us, and the logo for everything. At GetterGirl23 on Twitter. She's a fantastic artist, and I recommend checking out her work.
Yeah, it's definitely some amazing artwork.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I had never commissioned artwork before from from anyone, and it was like the smoothest and like easy going experience I've had doing something like that.
As someone who has commissioned quite a fair bit of artwork, the speed at which it got done and the quality at which it came out, that is top notch.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So, as far as what's coming up, we're all at various points throughout Gundam Wing, which is going to be the topic of the first episode of the podcast. I think the decision behind that was it was the first show to come to the U.S., so why not make it the first episode of the podcast?
Yeah, and like basically encompasses like teen angst.
Yeah, a lot of teen angst, a lot of melodrama, a lot of people switching sides, and then doing it again and again.
Yeah, that will be our first episode.
Lots of fighting spirit, which kind of undermines the whole war is bad message.
Yeah. These characters are really cool, but they're also terrorists.
All right. So Adam, how did you get into mecha anime?
So, I mean, for me, it's like it's like I said at the beginning. It's always been a thing that's like just been in the background for me. Like the first show I ever watched that like showed like a person piloting a robot from within. Like I had been into robots before. Like I was all I was into like Transformers. I watched like Transformers Armada and like the Unicron trilogy going up. But like the first time I had seen like a person inside of a robot that was like piloting it and making it move was staying up late and watching the Big O on Toonami, which I really like because it's basically Batman, but if he had a giant robot, and which makes a lot of sense because a lot of the people who worked on Batman the animated series also worked on that. And then from there, it's just like, the genre as like a whole has had an influence on like Western animation too. Like I was a Cartoon Network kid growing up, so I watched like a lot of Dexter's Lab and Codename Kids Next Door and Megas XLR and all that. There were episodes of like Dexter's Lab where he had like a giant robot. There were episodes of Codename Kids Next Door that had giant combining robots.
Oh yeah, like with Dexter, they had that Abe Lincoln episode.
Yeah. I remember that episode because it was like him. It was him and Mandark, and they turned Lincoln's head and George Washington's head on Mount Rushmore into like giant stone robots, and they fought each other with it. That was really cool.
But then there was the Samurai Jack episode.
Yeah, one of my favorite episodes of Samurai Jack has him like piloting a giant stone samurai against a kaiju. And then, later on I would watch shows like Megas XLR and Symbionic Titan. God rest its soul.
Oh yeah, it ended too soon.
And then like the Michael Bay Transformers movies were starting in like 2007, and I went to the theaters to see every single one of those. And then like 3 years ago, I was looking at those kooky Gundam model kits on the shelves at my comic book store where I was living at the time. I was like, I've heard a lot about this Gundam. Let's check it out.
Wait, Yuri?
So I just kind of So I kind of just dove in head first with that, and now I've got like an entire bookshelf on the other side of the room that has like model kits that I've built, and a couple of unbuilt ones sitting next to me on my desk. So
you have a Gundam army, like reaching up to like 100 now.
One of my cousins came over a couple weeks ago, and she goes like, "How many of these do you have?" I was like, "I don't know. I've never really counted." And she goes up to my shelf and comes back to me 2 minutes later, and she's like, 70. So
she counted it for you?
Yeah.
Well, at least you've got a head count.
Yeah. I've got a lot of,
so is it like mostly HGs, MGs?
It's mostly high grades. I've got a lot of Zaku's. I've got a lot of Gems. I've got like 3/5 of the wing team.
Speaking of Gundam Wing.
Yeah, speaking of Gundam Wing, I have like 3/5 of that team. Looking forward to finishing that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So, what about you, Noel?
Oh, okay. So, So I've actually I think the first time I watched like a mecha anime would be like when I was like 5 or 6. I was like I saw like Voltron, Voltus 5, and I think all I basically thought was like, oh, cool combining robots. Yeah. And then I think from there, like I just have been casually watching it throughout my childhood. Like as like Adam said, I watched like Cartoon Network. So I watch like Power Rangers, and they have the Megazords and stuff like that. And then I think in middle school, I got into like actually watching like mecha anime, like Code Geass, Eureka 7, and what else was there? Oh yeah, and Gurren Lagann, I think, as well. So,
yeah, that's something else I forgot to mention too. For me, it was also like Power Rangers. I watched I had the movie on VCR, and I played that thing like so many times.
Oh, the Power Rangers movie with like Ivan Ooze.
Yeah, dude.
and they became like animal Megazords or something like that.
Yeah, one of them was like a frog.
And they went to like outer space to find their like primal form or something like that.
Yeah, they went to like a planet in outer space or whatever, and everyone's like, I got a cool like eagle, and I got a lion, and this dude is like Charlie Brown with his rock. He's like, I got a frog.
See, and then I think so then after that, I think after Gurren Lagann, like I just watched like mecha anime casually, like with like it didn't have to be mecha anime as the focus. Like it could be like mecha slice of life, or like a mecha like space opera and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of the space opera stuff goes hand in hand since like the original Gundam.
Yeah, it wasn't until like maybe 3 years ago that I actually got into Gundam with Iron Blood Orphans, because like before that I didn't really watch any Gundam shows, and that also like brought my interest in like Gunpla as well, and that's how I started building Gunpla.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to like collecting stuff, like I have like various memorabilia from like stuff I like. for me, it was like I couldn't see myself getting into building Gundams and stuff like that because I hadn't seen the show, so I don't know anything about it. I don't know the lore behind it. Like I have to get it. I have to get attached to like the story behind it before I want like a physical representation. Of it.
No, I'm the opposite with that because basically I looked at a Gundam and said like, "Oh, this looks cool," and then I bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because case in point with that red Gundam in IBO,
Grimguard?
what was it called? Yeah, the Grimguard. Like once I watched IBO, he just shows up for like 10 minutes and then
Yeah.
disappears.
Yeah, that's like I really wanted a kit of like the Helmwalj, and you know the one that's kind of squat with the big fuck off sword. And he's in like a few episodes, and then like the pilot gets killed, and then that's it. It's such a cool design that they hardly did anything.
But the
with.
important thing
Well,
with that is it has a giant sword, so the main character can pop over and say, "Hey, let me borrow that," and then be heroic with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, because I think the main point with like with mecha anime is that like their main goal is to sell toys.
Oh yeah, Gundam exists to sell toys. That's just a fact.
Yeah, and then like
Well, that's like that's been a thing since like it's always been sort of the lifeblood for it. Like back in the 70s when you had like Getarobo and Mazinger, and all of his cohorts and everything. And,
yeah, and
all
then
that,
and then the OG Gundam started with the aim to sell toys. That's why they did the primary
Yeah.
colors, I think.
yeah, the old Sunbow Gundam toys look awful.
Yeah, and then they started
They're
a new
basically like
partnership
bricks.
with the Bandai. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bandai, and then that was much more successful.
Yeah,
Now there's like endless versions of the OG Grandpa.
yeah.
A new one on the way.
And the unicorn, yeah, like it's funny you mentioned like how there's like a bunch of different versions of the Grandpa because there's a new Perfect Grade coming out, which looks really good.
And very very expensive.
Oh,
yeah,
undoubtedly.
yeah, and very expensive. That too. Well, it's got stamped metal. That's like a new
yeah.
thing.
And like has 5 phases where you can like do the frame and then you can like, basically stacks instead of like doing each part separately.
And you know there's going to be
Yeah.
somebody who buys 5 and has them in all the stages. Next to his
Yeah, because they're
next to his completed perfect grades of every other perfect grade.
Oh, but then let's see.
the skeleton on that is completely pre-built too, which is interesting.
Yeah, because like I remember someone noting like it's basically a giant sized real grade frame.
Yeah, which is weird because they haven't done that forever.
Oh wait,
So Gil,
I didn't get to say my intro to Mecha.
oh yeah. So
Yeah, sorry, we went on a tangent.
Yeah.
So
Get
Gillian,
used to that.
Don't worry,
how
don't worry, viewers. We'll never go on tangents like that again. It's all professionalism here.
that, yeah, definitely.
My story was same as you guys. A lot of Transformers, a lot of Power Rangers. I actually didn't really get a chance to watch the show all that much. Like,
Yeah, because like I think like when I was younger as well is I didn't really have cable. I just like watched it whenever like I was at friends' house and stuff like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, my mom was always like, "Oh, go outside, play with other children." Well, now I can stay inside and watch all the TV I want. Take that, Mom. Well, the big thing I always remember is I had quite a few toys, especially the Transformers toys, which spent most of their life as hybrid carmen. Because look, now the front half is a car, but the back half is legs, so you can go twice as fast. But
Yeah, because I remember like for like I wanted the Megazords when I was younger, but I remember they were like pricey.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
I really wanted the Megazord that's like a train from what series is that from?
I don't know. Was it a?
It's from yeah, it's from not the one from Tokuger because that's That's the Japanese one. That's the Super Sentai one. Yeah, it was like the Lightspeed Megazord from Rescue Force, I think. Yeah.
I had the Dino Thunder Megazord, and that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good show. It brought back the White Ranger.
Yeah, so much fun. But I later on in life got into anime and didn't really particularly have a specific interest in mecha anime. And then sort of the turning point for me, I think, was randomly going on YouTube and like, oh, top anime fights. And like, I've got nothing of value to do for the next 5 hours. I'll just randomly wander around on YouTube. And I came across from Gundam Thunderbolt, the Psycho Zaku versus Full Armor Gundam. And I was like, whoa, cool robot.
Yeah.
So that's how your love with the Psycho Zaku started?
Oh, yes, big time.
Yeah.
The Psycho Zaku, I loved so much, it got me over how goofy the Zakus kind of look with their stupid bell-bottom legs and scuba diver pineapple. But now I love them and they're the best thing ever. But
so Gundam Thunderbolt was like your first like introduction to mecha anime?
Just that one scene sort of got my interest in it. And then, so sort of in the back of my mind, like, I'd heard of Gundam, but it's like, oh yeah, it's the thing with giant robots and people being really serious all the time. And then somebody at an anime convention mentioned, oh hey, yeah, there's actually going to be a Gundam Gunpla building panel where you can go and people will talk about it and we'll watch some Gundam in the background and build Gundams. It's like, cool, so I headed down to the merch hall, and there was always like the 3 guys who were just selling a whole bunch of Gundams. And I thought, oh, this one looks cool, so I went down and started building it. And now it's a year and a half later, and I have about 2 dozen made or in the process of being made.
Yeah, definitely not my fault whatsoever. Absolutely has nothing to do with me.
I'm glad. I'm very glad that you introduced me into this fun, time-killing hobby that makes me really easy to buy presents for. My wallet has not forgiven you.
Yeah. So Adam, I think you kind of revived my interest in Gunpla making, because I think for like 2 years I've had like a backlog sitting here, but then that backlog just grew after like. Yeah. After like this year or something.
Truly, you're a hero, Adam. It used to be that I had 10 Gundam that I hadn't gotten around to building. Then you got my interest, and now I have 20 Gundam that I haven't gotten around to building.
Yeah, it started with, hey guys, me posting in the Discord like, hey guys, look at this cool thing I built, and then it turned into, hey, why don't you guys come to the hobby store with me? Hey, why don't you come to build days with me? And then it just sort of went downhill from there.
And then I think we just take turns like egging each other to buy buy this one.
Yeah.
No, buy this one.
Which is literally what we did last Sunday.
Like, oh, I'm just coming here to look for one thing and maybe get some water slides. Oh, hey, they got this thing in. This would help complete your set. Well, if you insist. Oh, hey, here's a Gundam motorcycle and a Gundam baseball bat, so you can make the rowdy... God, what was the term I used? The outlaw Gundam.
Yeah.
Which is definitely on the way. To have a Gundam
I
on
saw
a motorcycle with a baseball bat. It's a Kira Gundam. Hoodlum Gundam. That's what
I saw Galen with a Master Grade Goof in his hands, and I have never seen him debate or put more thought into anything in my entire life.
He was debating between that and then like a resin Zaku sniper rifle.
Yeah.
But then I'd have to paint that, and I've already got enough equipment that I've bought but haven't properly used yet, so I'll put that on the shelf for a while.
Yeah, if you want, you can just like prime it and then just put like a coat of black paint, and then you should be good.
But then I have to get primer and black paint, and I've already got like 3 cans of gloss coat of matte coating that I've used once, with a whole a conga line of other things that I need to do it on that I keep putting off to buy more Gundam to not build yet.
It's never
like I handed the goof to Galen. I was like, hey, look, it's a goof. He was like, oh, hey, that's cool. And then like I turned and talked to Noel for 3 minutes. Galen's still looking at it. Turned back to Noel, talking to him for a little bit more. Turned back. Galen's still holding and looking at it.
I've been debating that one even beforehand. It's like, I hope they've sold it so I don't have to keep looking at it and struggling.
we walk from like one side of the room to the other, and he's just cradling it, looking at it.
He's like thinking like, do I want it or do I not want it? Do I want it?
Yeah, but you were saying
Oh,
it
no,
wasn't on
no.
the 2.0 chassis, and that's the 2.0 chassis for the Zaku's is just the best thing ever. I swear, once I build a second one, I'll have
Yeah,
a ballroom dancing.
Yeah, I still need to get Zaku 2.0. I've never built any of them. I've only gotten the HG. Yeah, I
The
think
Origin ones are pretty good. I want to build the new Revive Shard's Zaku.
Oh yeah,
one.
that one's pretty fun.
yeah, because like the Zaku, there's also the Megazai Zaku.
Anyway, with my
So yeah, that's a little.
to finish my story of this, like, sorry viewers, I lied. We're still gonna go on tangents. But I got into building the Gundams, and after I finished rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender, I said, in the background while building these, I thought, I should probably watch something thematically appropriate. So I started watching Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans while I watched that, and then finished that and moved on to the next series. But yeah, definitely can't wait till the IBO episode, because I've got so much to say about that. But now it's to the point that I watch Gundam when I'm building Gundams. Which considering that the show is an advertisement for the toys, and the toys are what made me watch the show, just seems a little backwards if you ask me.
Yeah, and you mentioned like the thing that made you sort of check everything out was the fight between the Psycho Zaku and the Full Armor Gundam, which is why the Psycho Zaku is your profile picture that's represented in our thumbnail.
Yep.
Noel is Gurren Lagann because he really likes that. And then earlier this year, back in August, I actually sat down and watched the entirety of Gal Gaigar and the final OVA, and it has cemented itself as like my new favorite like super robot anime. Probably like it's got a permanent spot in like my top 5 anime now, and that's why mine is what it is. And I am looking forward to that episode particularly whenever we get around to that one.
Wait, so how many episodes is that?
So Gal Gaigar is 49 episodes, and then there's an 8-episode OVA that's like a direct sequel.
I do just want to have it in for the record that you kept talking about how Gaigar was the greatest thing ever for about 4 months before you finally sat down and watched the entirety of Gal Gaigar.
Look, all you have to do is just watch like a clip of Final Fusion and like the first time they use the hammer, and that's all you need to know that this is the best thing in the world.
Yeah, so you're basically hyping it before you even watched it.
Yeah, and the hype was truly well earned for reasons I will discuss whenever we get around to that episode.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's a little bit about us, and the stuff I mentioned at the beginning is like what the podcast is going to be about. I don't really know if this will go anywhere. I hope it does. This is sort of just like a fun side project for us to do. I have a little bit of a background in radio, so I'll be handling all the audio editing and everything, and these two bring the personality.
And we were shooting the bull about giant robots for an hour before we finally said, you know what, we should probably start the recording. So,
and then this is actually our second time recording this.
He's saying,
yeah, so this is actually our second time recording this introductory episode because despite having a background in radio, I managed to drop the ball.
So you trusted the internet to corrupt a file.
like, how do I?
Yeah, I was like, oh hey, because originally we're all recording our tracks separately in Audacity right now while we sit at a Discord call, and I was like, I kind of wanted to just circumvent that, and I was like, I wonder how we can record the entirety of the Discord call, and then I was like, oh, we can just use OBS, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And then we recorded it with OBS, and then OBS saves things in a file that's not an audio file, and I was like, how do I convert this to MP3? And they're like, okay, download VLC. Now do all these steps. And I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I ended up like skipping a few and like maybe sort of accidentally corrupting the file to the point where it couldn't be opened again, and I couldn't reformat it or undo anything that I did. And then I was like, damn. So I was angry about that for a little bit. And then I went and looked. And then I went back and looked, how to record files from OBS into MP3. I found this handy dandy guide that was like, okay, open up OBS, record your file, press these 2 buttons, done. So
It was that simple.
yeah, it was that simple.
And that's what you get for trusting the internet and not doing a test run.
And not doing a test run.
Well, technically that's our test run now because
I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, we are. The plan is to upload this to YouTube, SoundCloud, maybe a couple of other podcast hosting sites that I have not yet determined, but they will all be linked along with the artist who made all of our material and everything. And yeah, so hopefully everything goes smoothly, and we'll see you this time next month when we talk about new mobile report Gundam Wing.
Yeah, see you then.
See you then.